Alright guys, welcome back to Evidence-Based Weight Loss Part 11 of 20. We are getting there a little over halfway through the series. Just want to encourage you guys again, maybe take notes on Microsoft Word or your Google Drive. There's a lot of information. You're not going to remember it all. Please share these videos, guys. I'm really passionate about helping people lose weight. I'm literally putting over 100 hours into this series between reading that 600-page book, making these videos, taking notes, editing them, filming them, uploading them, putting the recipes together, over 100 hours. So I do encourage you, please share these. I want to help a lot of people just lose weight. It's kind of a passion of mine. You've probably noticed that by now. So let's get into the video. So let's talk first. Last week's video actually was about fruit and vegetable consumption. You want to eat more of those, less calories in those foods, and they fill you up pretty quickly. But let's talk about low fat. That is distracting, whatever that noise was. Let's talk about low fat. So when something's labeled low fat, people are typically going to consume an extra 47% of calories from M&Ms because they think it's healthier. But that's high in sugar. Dr. Michael Greger mentions in his book, How Not to Diet, 3 things people have done that have lost weight and kept it off for years. There was 3 things. They were physically active, so they were primarily walking a bunch. They would weigh themselves a couple times a week, and they would have lower calorie and lower fat intake. So we're going to go into more information about low fat. But he mentions in the study that people who were more likely to gain weight back had higher consumptions of fat in their diets. Does fat make you fat? Well, subjects in this one study had 35% of their calories from fat. Afterwards, they switched over to 15% of their calories from fat. However, they did not lose weight because the researchers just pounded more food into them. They just forced them to eat more and more and more. But they were extremely full. People are actually complaining of abdominal pain because they were eating so much food. Eventually, what they did is they kept them at the 15% fat diet, but they did not force them to eat extra. After 10 to 12 weeks, they lost an average of 8 pounds. So in other words, just by changing your fat intake, the people lost weight naturally. The researchers didn't tell them to do anything differently. Dr. Greger mentions in his book, if you put people in a buffet line and you have high-fat foods versus lower-fat foods, people are going to consume hundreds of more calories if there are more high-fat foods options available. Page 157 of How Not to Diet in his book. 4 ways people burn more calories on a low-fat diet. So you put people eating 11% of calories from fat, they'll burn an average of 65 calories a night compared to the group that have 58% of their calories from fat. 11% of calories from fat, they also seem to poop out an extra 620 more calories a week compared to a group that have 58% of calories. So that's nearly 2,500 calories a month that they're pooping out. Maybe it's higher fiber consumption. We mentioned that fiber consumption will actually poop out more calories. We mentioned that a couple of videos ago. Another reason is fat appears to be more absorbable than the other foods such as carbs and protein. Just to store 100 calories of fat as body fat takes 3 calories of energy. All right, so 3 calories of energy to burn fat. To store 100 calories of carbs into fat storage takes 23 calories. Lower fat options seems to be still the case. They mentioned that years ago in the 80s, and I still believe in that. I know there was a movie called Fed Up. It demonized how we moved things to low fat and how we increased in sugar, and I think they were right on that. However, I think it needs to be low fat and low sugar. That's what Dr. Greger seems to believe in his book on How Not to Diet. All right, so you want to eat the right fats to lose weight. So if you have one group having 38% of their calories from fat, another group having 38% of their calories from saturated fat, there's going to be greater weight loss in the monounsaturated fats. So there are certain types of fats. We have saturated fats, monounsaturated fats. Those are more healthier fats. Those come from like avocados, nuts, and seeds. So if you have people eating that, and then they eat 38% of their calories from saturated fats like meat and dairy, eggs, palm oil, coconut oil, the result is greater weight loss. And then another group had oil of sunflower oil when they made the muffins, and then another group had saturated palm oil muffins, and there was a greater liver and total body fat and twice as much visceral fat that goes around the organs. So that's like the really deadly fat. You don't want fat around your organs. That's the last place you want it to go, because then that's truly the badness of fat. Fat isn't inherently bad. It's when it goes around the organs is when it becomes very problematic. Dr. Greger mentions one study in his book. I don't have the source number, but he mentions people eating just a few eggs a week. They will have triple the odds of fatty liver disease. So obviously, if you have that, fatty liver disease, you just naturally gain fat no matter what you do. I think I mentioned this before, but a couple videos ago, but the largest study of those eating plant-based diets found that American vegetarians tend to be 25 pounds lighter than those who eat meat. I think that was already mentioned. So we want a diet low in fat. We want a diet low in meat. Meat does seem to cause weight gain. When controlling for other lifestyle factors such as fiber intake, exercise, those eating about 3 or more ounces of meat a day had 3 times the risk of gaining 5 or more pounds. Another study found that those who ate 5 ounces of meat a day had 8 times the incidence of abdominal obesity over a year compared to those who ate 1 ounce of meat a day. So according to the study above my head, if you eat 7 servings of meat a week compared to eating 1 serving of meat a week, that is the same as losing weight as somebody who's jogging 4 or more hours a week. Poultry apparently is associated with 3 times the weight gain compared to meat like beef. Researchers took other things into account, such as smoking, activity level, age, gender, calorie count, etc. Less than an ounce a day, so that's 1 chicken nugget a day, is apparently associated with weight gain in both men and women. They go up 18% for every 1% increase in red meat, poultry, or fish. And then get this, the meat industry actually did a study on weight gain. But what did they compare it to? They compared it to cookies. So obviously the meat industry won there, showing meat to be associated with weight loss, but they were comparing it to cookies. Kind of funny, actually. And then childhood obesity researchers found that eating meat doubled their chances of becoming overweight, but plant-based consumption had no effect. Let's talk about sugar next. To no surprise, increased sugar leads to excess calories in randomized controlled trials. If a group had added sugar, they gained about 3.5 pounds in over 10 weeks. And then the sugar reduction group actually lost 2.5 pounds in the 10-week study. Animal agriculture, they've actually been using artificial sweeteners in animals since the 1950s because it causes weight gain, so they actually know this. And then 2, if you're eating artificial sweeteners, you're consuming them. These are primarily through sugary drinks. Diet sodas in particular really have them because they're trying to replace the calories in the sugar. They'll actually alter your gut microbiome within a week of daily consumption. So that's affecting the bugs down in your stomach, and we did a video on this a couple weeks ago. If you have an unhealthy gut, you just seem to gain weight naturally. That was maybe 2 or 3 videos ago. We talked about the gut microbiome and linked to weight gain. And then get this, those who had diet sodas 3 times a week are more likely to choose M&Ms over spring water or sugar-free gum. So these non-calorie sweeteners seem to trick the brain, and you just seem to want more junk overall. So this is why weight loss, it needs to come from a health perspective, in my opinion. I'm going to have a diet soda to lose weight, and that doesn't seem to be the case. It needs to be, weight loss needs to be done from a health perspective. It's like, no, I don't care if diet soda does make me or doesn't make me gain weight. I don't want that because it's not healthy. And when your choices revolve around health, I believe naturally that weight will gradually come off your body. Now, I don't have any studies to back that up. This is just my personal opinion. Now, one time I do remember somebody said to me, come on, Jake, you can have some of these cookies. You're already skinny as it is. This is somebody who's over 100 pounds heavier than me, mind you. And my thought process is, no, I don't want those cookies. Yes, I can afford the calories. I don't want it because it's not healthy. It's not healthy to be eating all this sugar and this processed flour and all the other junk that's in this cookie. I don't want it because it's not healthy. I could be eating something that's healthier and better for my body. So I think that is also a good example of my point where if If you approach weight loss from a health perspective, I believe it'll just naturally coming off. Just little things like that you'll be thinking. It's like, no, I don't need those extra calories. I don't need that processed junk food. Even if I am skinny enough already, that's okay. I don't want it. Artificial sweeteners, getting back to that, they alter the reward pathways responsible for pleasure response to food. So if similar study was done with Oreos and with people with diet sodas, the people with diet sodas apparently did not enjoy the Oreos as much. And then your blood sugar will shoot up just hours later after consuming artificial sweeteners. We mentioned insulin sensitivity is a factor in weight gain. So if you're consuming artificial sweeteners, it's shooting up your blood sugars just a couple hours later. And one study showed if you compare people to have water versus diet sodas, the water group will lose 15% more weight over 16 months. The researchers have concluded that this could be a reason that's contributing to the obesity epidemic. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 100 calories of added sugars every day. So if you have a can of soda, you're already above the recommendations for the day. People typically get rid of sugar cravings if you go sugar-free for about 2 weeks. One study of rats, done on rats, which, of course, as a vegan, I don't approve of that 100%. But 9 out of 10 rats chose sugar water over cocaine water. So sugar is extremely addicting. The U.S. is taking in an average of 350 to 500 excess calories every day. So I believe if we could just reduce our sugar intake and fat intake, that could probably also get us down to about 300 to 500 calories a day. Which is worse, fat or sugar? What do you think? Well, why do you think it is that in processed foods we crave things such as ice cream that's high fat and sugar? Well, because naturally when we're young and when we're infants and we're babies, we crave breast milk, which is also high in fat and sugar, because you kind of need that. That's your only source of survival. Other than that, other natural foods, there are no other natural foods that are high in fat and sugar. So that's something interesting to know. But when in processed foods, man, we love the combination of both. So probably we like it because originally that's our source of survival, is to have something that's high in fat and sugar, which is breast milk. Sugar leads to weight gain. Fat leads to weight gain. Too much meat leads to weight gain, even just a little bit. Artificial sweeteners lead to weight gain. So just summarize those points. We got 2 more points we're going to make. We're going to talk about fast food. So when Americans eat out, typically 3 times a week. It could be different now with the coronavirus pandemic. It might be different today. But people typically consume an extra 200 calories of eating out, and they'll also consume less micronutrients. Teens who are allowed to eat as much food as they want at a food court, they'll actually consume about 1,600 extra calories. In a single meal, they'll consume 1,600. That's just if you're allowed to eat whatever you want. But Dr. Greer mentions on page 180, the more we eat healthy foods, the more we begin to like them. The problem is processed foods are hyper salty, hyper sweet, and hyper fat. And I've known this for years. The problem is high fat foods, high sugary foods, high salty foods, they're just so addicting that it's hard not to eat them. It's natural to be fat, really. I mean, we crave these foods because hundreds of years ago we didn't have supermarkets all over the place. We couldn't freeze our food, we couldn't freeze-dry our food. We don't have famines anymore. So when you see something that's high in fat and sugar, you want to eat it up. You have to eat it all up. You're going to eat the patch of blueberries over that patch of lettuce because it's higher in calories. And you don't know when your next meal is going to come. Right now in our modern world, there's no such thing as a famine for the most part, at least if you live in the U.S. This is our last point. The number 1 source of calories in the U.S. diet is refined grains. Next to that is white flour, followed by added fats. Then it is meat, and then it is added sugars. So that's kind of why I wanted to go over this today, because these are the highest sources of calories in the American diet. And obviously, the American diet is very problematic with obesity. We all know this. So refined carbs and fats make up half the American diet. Typically eat 3 times as many calories from refined grains and added sugars combined than we do from all plant foods. And knowing this, is any surprise we struggle with obesity? Not a huge surprise. Now, I don't really eat any refined grains at all. To me, I have to be an example. I have to be an example to you guys making this 20-part series in weight loss, so I can't be having health problems. I'm a personal trainer. I need to be an example to my clients. It's just one of those things I don't have. Sarah doesn't have it. We just don't have refined grains in our diet at all. We're kind of used to it at this point and not having it, so we therefore don't crave it. The less you have it, typically the less you're going to crave it. The last study that we're going to quote today is Harvard did a study on more than 100,000 male and female professionals and found that refined grains such as white rice and white bread was associated with weight gain independent of all other factors. We want to reduce our fat intake, reduce our sugar intake, reduce our refined grains intake, reduce our artificial sweetener intake. You do all these things, and you add more plant foods, that'll significantly help you lose more weight. And there's plenty of science to back this up. Funny thing, I'm actually doing my own little weight loss journey now. We'll see how it goes. I'm 172 pounds now. I want to get down to 160. I officially signed up for a half Ironman triathlon. We actually did a video where we filmed a triathlon years ago. That was an Olympic distance. So this is going to be a 1.2 mile swim, 56 mile bike ride, and a 13 mile run. Very excited to do this. Again, I want to lose 12 pounds. Those abs are going to be popping out by this summer. So kind of funny that I'm talking about weight loss and I'm trying to lose about 10 pounds or so. I know I'm not fat, but I want to be ultra lean. And hey, Das, how you doing? So actually, I'm going to head to the gym right now and do my first swim lesson because I haven't been in the pool in a long time for swimming. What are you eating? Are you eating sweet potato, huh? Are you eating sweet potato? Are you eating sweet potato? Yeah, you're munching on sweet potato. You cutie, you. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you next time. Say bye-bye. Bye.